I want to talk about American exceptionalism. That's the idea that somehow America is better than other countries. And, Obama got in trouble for this a while back for saying that we're equal to others and that we're exceptional just like every other country has their own exceptionals standing. And I disagree. Margaret Thatcher said America was built on ideas, where she's comparing it to Europe, and she said Europe was built on history. And as you think about that, maybe my generation is tempted to think, why don't you just go change your country? Why don't we just spread democracy and you change how you set things up? Well, as you get older and you get more wise, you can see how once things are set up and ingrained, it's very hard to change. Think about Wilberforce in England trying to get rid of slavery. You think of slavery over here, even though it was immoral, once you get used to it and you get people that can justify it, things take a long time to change. And I'm sure governmental operations are set in place, and they're not going to overhaul the system. They're just going to run with it. Look at Greece going into poverty and all their government programs and pensions and things like that. It was unsustainable. So, is America great? Well, you got to go back and think, were we founded on something different than much of the world? Yeah. A well thought out idea based on people that had a deep faith in God, and they were the primary architects of the country. So they chose our rights based on pulling things from God and the Bible, and then tried to basically set up a government or a country or a way of operation that would allow people to flourish. There wouldn't be any tyrannical control like there was in England with the church. Freedom of religion. And did flourish? We did. Some 250 years later, we are the most prosperous country on the planet. And we, spun the Industrial Revolution. We led with the digital revolution, microprocessor revolution. And then our technology spread to the rest of the world because people were encouraged to go forth, innovate, and explore and come up with new things. So, was the design of America better than other countries? I think so. And I think faith has a lot to do with that. I think when you look at the other great civilizations or faiths of the world, you can think of the Roman Empire, you can think of Greece, you can think of the Far East empires, Persia, Babylonia. Different empires have come and they've gone. And I side note, I do think America could go. Just like Rome, you build up, you become satisfied, you rest on your laurels, and the generations below you don't see your work ethic, and the civilization that you had will collapse. And it won't just collapse and rest in the rubble. There'll be somebody else hungrier knocking on the door to come in. In our situation in America, they're tearing it apart from the inside, and it's secularism, and I think Islam will be a factor. But that two-headed dragon will take America down from the inside. Once you kind of pull away from the emotionalness of that, and you look at it statistically and stuff like, it sucks to see your country and what you believe the best designed country to go down the tubes slowly. But and I don't know when the peak was. I'd like to argue that the greatest generation, World War II in the 50s, might have been the peak. We did a couple good things with women's liberation and stuff like that. But once we rejected the defense of life with abortion and made divorce very convenient, that put a great fracture in our nation. And then that did protect some people, but it became a signal fire, if you will, or a flag that say, all right, you can get out of your marriage, all right, you can get an abortion if you want. So it made it okay and encouraged it in a way. And we need to relook at those kind of things, but it's tough to legislate morality. So back to why the country was designed better, or it was designed better because the people that designed it believed in God, and they saw what they knew what they had come from, and they were trying to redesign something better. So they were looking to improve. They weren't just looking to survive. And then when you compare our culture to a lot of other cultures, specifically other faiths, when you look at how Christianity has impacted the world, too often we get a very short stick with crusades and stuff like that, and that's not the global impact that Christianity should hang its hat on. The global impact is that we started churches to teach, we started colleges to teach, we started schools to teach literacy, and then colleges as the free marketplace of ideas to teach the truth, the biblical truth, and to pass on wisdom. We extended grace through missionaries, through hospitals, through churches. So Christians came at developing the world around them, our country, and then the world at large, with a two-pronged approach, truth and grace. There's a great book called The Truth and Grace Paradox that deals with things like this, and that keeps people, it cares for people where they're at, and it cares for them enough to not leave them there. And if you look at, have other religions done what Christians have done? Have Muslims gone to other countries and given as much of themselves for progress? They give in the name of fear and terrorism, and not all of them, but some of them, and some of them come over to America and join in our prosperity. And Asians, Indians, they're coming over here, and they are joining America and becoming contributors, and they're going home and contribute and bringing some of it back there too, and that's fantastic. And so did Italians, and so did Polish, and so did everybody that came over here, everybody that immigrated over here, came, had ties back to their homeland, set down roots here, became prosperous for the most part, and I'm sure their families reaped some benefit, whether they were here or not. So I think America is exceptional because of its design. I think it was the people that designed it were wise because of their faith. So, do I believe in American exceptionalism? Yes. And I think it came because of our founders' Christian faith. For the further we step away from that, the less we're going to have to stand on. The more we're going to rest on some other foundation of morals, of guiding principles. And like I said before, it's going to be man's own decisions. It's going to be convenience.